Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to take some existing thumbnails that I have. We're going to look at them, and then I'm going to choose which one that I want to go with so that I can refine it a little bit. Now, I'm going to ask all of you to participate in this too, because each person viewing this video, you're going to see something different in a drawing that I didn't see or that other people didn't see. One of the hardest parts about being a concept artist is after drawing, you actually have to choose which one you're going to go with, especially if you're in charge of your own project. So if, let's say you have a page like this of doodles, regardless of what it is, it could be sci-fi helmets, it could be guns, it could be vehicles, whatever it is, and you have a hard time choosing which one you want to go with. Ask yourself, which one do you want to keep adding details to? Subconsciously, this is usually one that you're attached to the most, or it could be two of them. So for me, there are some silhouettes in here that I find pretty interesting. Now, when I did this page, let's show the bottom too. When I did this page, I had no set direction in mind. What I did want to do is make something rather Lovecraftian and sci-fi at the same time. So you can see in silhouettes such as number 8 over here, how it's very tentacled, and it is insect-like, but not a bug crawling around on the table or anything. And then we have this one. It's funny, I remember drawing this page, and it was right after I was feeling nostalgic and looking at old video games that I was playing in the 90s, and Super R-Type was one of them. So those of you that grew up in the 80s and 90s, you know that in the late 80s there was an arcade machine called R-Type 2, and it was ahead of its time in my opinion. So when it came out for the Super Nintendo, you had the Super R-Type, and it's a side-scrolling space fighter, and it was awesome. Good sound effects, good soundtrack. It was really neat. And yes, the cool thing about drawing creatures is that a lot of the silhouettes could be spaceships too. But when I'm looking at these, I think that I like this one, mainly because of this weird bubble shape right in here. It's almost like a strange orb is encased in an alien holding it. And also, there are no legs. Now, I honestly don't think that I have drawn a creature for this channel without legs. Most of them have had legs, either biped, quadruped, or some kind of tentacled fish or whatever. Of course, those aren't legs. But anyway, I think I'm going to choose number 14 just because it really intrigues me. Okay. Some of you are probably thinking, man, I wish you went with number 5 or number 2, or just like, you know what, that's cool. Maybe you guys can do it. So here's what's going to happen next. I'm going to choose number 14 down here. And then this image is going to be ghosted onto the screen as I start drawing it so that you can view it the entire time, and you can watch as I play off of the design and refine it. So without further ado, I'm going to choose number 14. I want you all to grab your pencils, grab your sketchbooks, grab your pens, and try to draw along with me. Or make up something entirely crazy and see what you come up with. Alright, let's do it. Okay, here we go. So here's how I would start it. Oh, by the way, the thumbnail page is right over here. So I'm looking off of this one, and it's just right over here. If you can see some images ghosted in here, this paper's super thin, and I got some sketches underneath. So I don't know what's going to show up or not. So the details I'm going to do probably will eventually hide that. Let's do it. I'm going to start with a sphere first. Very light. Now at this stage, I'm not going to worry about perfection, and I'm not really going to care if I follow the thumbnail exactly. I want you all to realize that in the thumbnail stage, it is impossible to fail. You're probably thinking, well, wait a minute. Yes, you can fail, because what if you end up drawing the wrong thing? And I just want to reassure you that drawing in the thumbnail stage, 100% exploratory. There is no right or wrong because you can always refine it later to make it right. Remember, this is exploring. So when you guys are doing pictures and you're not really sure about the direction of the creature or if you're making the correct decisions, I just want you to know that when we are working in the thumbnail stage, it's impossible to fail. It's because the idea is not fleshed out yet. So you don't have to worry about it following some kind of rule or it being perfect right away. The fun part about this is refining it and making sure that it ends up the best design possible. Now notice how I'm just kind of focusing on certain areas. Whenever I become confident about a certain area and I know that I like the shape, I leave it and I start adding some darker details to it. So if you're drawing along with me right now and you're not really sure about certain areas, like if you're doing a creature foot or something along those lines, don't put any dark lines yet until you know. The other thing is that I'm going to add in some perspective lines here just for my sanity. I just want to make sure that everything is following a believable vanishing point. There we go. Now my vanishing point that I am using, it's converging over here to the right, off of the page. If you want a realistic perspective, it's usually good to have the vanishing point off of the page. If you put the vanishing point on it, then you're forced to converge it so much that it is unnatural looking. And nobody would view perspective like that, or view an object like that in perspective unless it was forced. Okay, so this thumbnail is pretty wild looking. It's almost like a floating alien, and I'm totally for that. So there's a lot of scribbles happening still, even at the refinement stage, and I'm just going to try my best to follow this perspective line here. And I'm going to add some other shapes too that I normally, or I'm going to start adding some shapes that are suggestive in the thumbnail but aren't necessarily visible. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, kind of like a living creature in itself instead of just a random floating orb, isn't it? There we go. Now keep your pencil marks free flowing. You don't have to make everything super dark like that line right there. But the reason I'm making this particular area dark is because if I light this shape from above, anything down here on the underbelly is going to be darker, just to show that there is some shadow. So for example, over here on the other side of the body, as it's coming underneath that sphere, I'm going to make that a little darker. And then I'm going to put in some shading. Just simple back and forth shading, nothing spectacular. I'm not even going to go over it with a second or third pass. There's no need to do that at this point. I just want to have a clear silhouette. That's all I care about. So this is why the outline is going to show up just a tad but still be loose. I'm not going to outline it to the point where it's going to be cartoony because I'm not drawing a cartoon. There we go. And if your style is cartoony, that's still cool because you can still do gestural sketches like this and come up with some quick ideas. Okay, let's keep going. We also need to figure out what's going on with that actual sphere, because in the drawing, or in the original thumbnail, you can see up there on the left, I don't really have details on it. That it looks like it kind of looks like there's a nipple in front of there, and I don't want that. So let's do some cool shapes right on the top so it almost looks like an eye. And this is, you know, I'm liking this already. It's almost like a happy accident. So did you see what I did there? I don't know if it's showing up well on the screen yet for you guys. Is that when I did the sphere, I already had a center line hinted at. So I'm making sure that any rounded cut or line or anything that I put on that sphere it crests around that center line right up there. It's just because I want to show this shape in perspective, and the only way that I can really do that is if I have a line or shapes going on top of this creature and it crests where that center line is. Because if it bends right here, you know it goes back around. Or better yet, since this is bending right up here, the crest of the shape is right up here, we know that it's an eyeball looking out this way. Oh man, I just made it an eye, and I that wasn't planned, but let's just do that. How about a big eyeball? It's not going to be like Monsters Inc. I'm not going to do it like that. But let's put the pupil right there. Yeah, now we're getting somewhere. I also have to make sure that this is in perspective. So I got to turn my sketchbook a little bit. I just want to make sure. I'm going to put in some lines. So what I'm trying to do is just put in some realism here, putting in like the bottom shapes of an eyelid. You see how in this corner right here I came out just a little bit to show thickness to that entire lid. You can always add some cool textures on there. There we go. Guys, also, if you're following along with me, like, I'm just talking how I usually think when I'm sketching these things. Because I never know if these things are going to be successful or not. I just don't know. But what I'm trying to do is build this creature from scratch and make it interesting. That's the bottom line. And I would love to see what you guys are sketching too, because if it's Lovecraftian, if it's Dungeons and Dragons inspired, if you have something alien, I would love to see it. You should join our Discord and show your work. Check the links in the description below. Speaking of the Discord, I'm starting to get messages saying that the links aren't working. Now, the thing about Discord is if you share a link to the Discord, you can make it permanently available. And that's what I've been doing whenever you click on the links in the description. But for some reason, even those are expiring and they're not supposed to. So please let me know in the comments on any video that you watch if the Discord link is not working. I constantly have to go back and rewatch them or just check out the comments just to see what's working and what's not. Oh, I realize it's almost like this creature now has its hair up in a bun, and I'll never be able to unsee that. When in doubt, add a spike. So I just added a horn or something. Yeah. This is the fun part, guys. See, this is refinement. Now, whether or not this is a successful refinement, I don't know. And I also don't know exactly what type of creature this is. It could be otherworldly, and I think that's probably the best bet. The eyeball itself, here's what I would do. I'm going to take a black Prismacolor over here, and I'm going to give it black eyes, because I think that will help the sinister aspect. So if I take away the large pupil, which suggests cute and friendly, and I'm just going to make it a little creepier by making it blacked out, I think that'll help. Not that cute and friendly are bad, not at all. But this particular creature is not cute and friendly. So you can see that I added in some value for the black Prismacolor. And then I'm going to go back over the black Prismacolor like this. Okay, so now let's start to add some different lines across the body of this creature. Because even though we had a sphere going, it was still kind of bland and a little boring. So let's start adding some fun shapes and little designs to that sphere. And I think what I'll do is I'll make the skin level uneven a little bit. And then the same thing up here on the top part of the lid. There we go. Okay, If you're drawing along with me and you're actually proud about what you're coming up with, great job. Like I said, join our Discord, Creature Design Workshop Discord. We have monthly contests where you can read briefs that we give, and then you have an entire month to come up with a creature design based on that brief. And we have a lot of really neat entries. A lot of newcomers, a lot of industry vets are on there, and up and coming artists that really do have some cool ideas. And then another thing that I want to mention is my Creature Design for Film and Games course at CGMA. So if you're unfamiliar with CGMA, I have a link down below in the description for that too. It's a course that I've been teaching at Computer Graphics Master Academy for almost a decade now. And it's an 8-week course about creature design. We have a ton of students coming in there, and it's always fun to read success stories from artists that have started off green and that have really come into their own and not only developed their own styles, but also become better designers and ultimately land those dream jobs that you guys have in the studios. It's, like I said, it's an 8-week course. We go over reference gathering, we go over thumbnailing, and then we look at functional features, muscle and skeletal structures and anatomy. We look at head design. We look at giving your creatures overall purpose for existing, which is one of the biggest problems in portfolios now. It's that people, instead of having your creatures be part of a project or a world that you're making, they're just kind of randomized. It's like, oh, here's an elf, here's a dragon that nobody knows why it's in the portfolio, and there's an orc. And the orc sucks, and the dragon isn't well designed, and it's just kind of like a crazy snowball effect, and we don't want that. Okay, so we definitely help get your portfolio ready. Anyway, it's starting to look better. It looks less like a giant eyeball with a perm, and now we have a strange Lovecraftian being, if you will. Hey, speaking of Lovecraftian, I'm a huge fan of weird cosmic horror. So if you guys have any movies that you want to suggest, please write them down in the description below. I can tell you ones that I've already seen that are awesome with cosmic horror. I love The Void. The Void is amazing. So if you guys haven't seen The Void, definitely check that out. Also, I'm a huge found footage horror movie buff. So The Outwaters is very good. If you haven't seen Outwaters, it's definitely cosmic horror, and it's one of the best ones I've seen with the smallest budget possible. So definitely check out The Outwaters. But if you guys have any more cosmic horrors, please, by all means, let me know. My favorite Love, Death, and Robots episode is Beyond the Aquila Rift. That's probably one of the best cosmic horrors I've seen. And also, with Neil Blomkamp and Oates Studios, I loved Zygote. You guys have seen that short film, Zygote. It's pretty rad. Okay, so what I can do, honestly, guys, I can spend another 5 hours on this. But Bobby, why aren't you sketching these for 5 hours and showing them on your YouTube? Well, I'm gonna tell you exactly why. One, it's 5 hours. So if I can find 5 hours to just sit and draw in one single sitting while working, then I definitely would. So I think what I'm going to have to do is break up these drawings. Film an hour here, an hour there, an hour here, and just compile it at the end. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn this, and I'm just going to start dark, go light, dark, light. What this does is oh, by the way, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing. Dark to light, dark to light, dark to light. So what these are controlled bursts of lines, okay? And it's also showing or helping me practice going dark to going to light in the same pencil stroke. Dark to light, because that's all drawing is. to add depth. Start dark, you go light and release pressure. So when you keep doing that, look at this weird crustacean appendage right here. It's a buildup of different line weights. That's what's going to add depth for your drawings. Okay. Also, another little trick, those of you that are new to my channel, you know I do this. At the tips of all tentacles and shapes and any kind of appendage coming out, you put some value at the tip. You fill it up, just like a coloring book. And then you release that pressure as you go up the appendage. So what it does is it darkens the tip of it, and then it lightens it as it gets to the rest of the body. The reason I personally do this is because it gives a finish effect, an intentionally finished effect, without me actually going in here and painstakingly put in details until that thing is filled up and it gives the illusion that it's finished. All right, let me tell you what I mean by that. That might have sounded a little backwards. You're probably going, wait a minute, an illusion of being finished by putting in details? Yes. I get comments about people telling me, why am I not finishing my drawings? Why are they always loose? You're not spending hours putting in the details. You're not putting the legs on your creatures. You're not filling it in with shading, blah, 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 blah. You don't need to. A finished drawing is subjective. When I look at these thumbnails, these are done because I wanted it to be a thumbnail. Now, you know your drawing is finished, or when you have made a point, okay? This silhouette right here, you can see the outline of the body of this creature, the whole thing, all the way up to the top. Maybe I can add in some darkness to get here, okay, and maybe I can hint at the spike on the other side. Guess what, guys? You already know the shape of the creature. It's finished. All I'm doing now is cosmetics. That's it. I'm just putting in stuff that I think will make it look cooler. This is the stage where you have to be careful of not overworking your stuff. Okay, you can do this with anything, not just creatures. You can overwork this stuff. And this is where concept artists have to have that discipline. So wondering why I'm not finishing it, that's a discipline problem. Okay, because when you overwork something, you were finished like days ago or hours ago, and you just keep going. And hey, I totally get it. I mean, it's hard to stop yourself from doing it. This core shadow that I'm putting in here, it needs it to show that it's rounded, and then I'm not going to stop it anymore. As a matter of fact, this drawing is done. Okay, and then I can move on to the next refinement sketch. There's still a lot of looseness going on in here because it doesn't have to be perfect. But hopefully you learned something on this. And comment below and let me know what you're working on, if you have any problems that you're going through with your art. And the other thing is, for all of you out there that are, trying to get better at your stuff, have patience. And you have to be open for criticism. You can't make excuses as to why you're not getting better, and you can't blame somebody else for your problems. And you cannot, absolutely cannot, stop using reference for your artwork. It's not copying. Okay, and I'm going to stress that a lot in my videos. Reference is not copying. Reference gathering is a necessity that we all use in the industry. Not just in industry. Let's say you don't want to become a creature designer or a concept artist for games or film. That's okay. You need reference anyway so that you can pull from those images and draw on the fly whenever you want. It's a fun skill to have. It's not a boring one, it's a fun one. All right, folks, thank you all for tuning in as you watch me doodle this crazy cosmic horror thing. And, oh, you know what? Before I do this, I want to check this perspective here. Okay, so this horn, like this crest on the head, we really can't see the other horn, and that's kind of bugging me. So, I don't know, maybe I'll just darken the tip so we know that the horn's on the other side. Perspective does some crazy things. You got to honor that. Okay, thanks everybody. Hopefully you learned something, and until next time, peace.